Hello and welcome to another night shift. My name is Yazil, and today we're gonna do a couple of things. The main part is if we log on our system and we already got a UMA, it changes to our play scene and also loads the UMA. So first things first, we're going to open our login plugin. And in our login plugin, we changed, let's see, where did we change something? Installed not. So we changed the situation where we built our writer and we just had a boolean in it where we said UMA or has UMA is false. I built it in function. It's called check UMA, and it's needs the ID for see what's going on. Let's find these function. It is here. It's basically the same than check user, and we go and see if the plugin manager .plugin.contains key player plugin. So we check if the player plugin is installed. This function is a dictionary which has a string in it and the plugin itself, and the string is the name of the plugin. So if the dictionary contains the player plugin, then go and do this stuff. We're gonna try, and we got an object in darkrift server .database executes scalar, and we just going and check if the row exists where the ID is equal to the ID we got in the function. The ID here is the query parameter ID underscore ID, and we return convert boolean object. So if it's if it found something, it returns true. If it doesn't found something, it returns false. And we're going here and catch the exception. Oh, my kitty cat again. And if we have debug on, we log to the interface, check UMA failed, and we return and return false. And if we don't have the plugin player plugin installed, we also return false. Think about when you called your plugin a different name, you have to change that here. That's just all for the login plugin, since I always have to find that, since we just replace the UMA has UMA variable to check UMA ID. As next, we did a couple extensions in our player plugin. And herefore I want to notice that we had a little discussion on the comments. Of course, you can do stuff like that. Apps. And don't go for the settings.conf with these variables at all. Also, if you want to have them in one file, you can open a new project, making a DLL with the yazil-const file, so that you have them all in one file. I prefer this way. Feel free to experiment and find your style of doing this. Okay, we extended the settings.conf file with two more states. One is the player saved OK subject, and sent player subject. I added them here in our list. And also I added them in the read settings.file CNF file, which is on these parts. So you see it's all the same settings, player subject, player saved or saved OK player, into the variable player as saved OK player. So that's for that part. We just extend the CNF file, and in the next file, or the next case, we go into the load stuff, which is here, and we going to do the normal stuff. We looking for the subject, and if the subject is a load player, then start going here, and in start going we're using the darkroot reader and read the user ID out of the function or out of the reading package, or what you put it in with the darkroot writer. After then we try and get a new database row and do a database rift database execute query, and we select star from table player where the ID is to the equal to the query user ID, and we just want one line. And the new parameter is just the user ID and with the name of the user ID. So if we get a row back, so if the row is exactly equal to 1, we go and string the parameters from the row. So we're looking for a parameter called player name and store it in player name, and we're looking for player gender, store it in player gender, and we look for player race and store it in player race. Also, we look for UMA data and store it in UMA data. And then I give a little debug line, so I can see if the player stuff is loaded. And I made a darkroot writer and put my stuff in, the ID, the player name, the player gender, the player race, the UMA data, and I have them sent to the client with the function con.sendReply with the player tag, and the player send subject player, and the writer we constructed here. If that doesn't work, we catch the database exception and debug if we have the error. So that's basically all for loading the player out of the database. We just see for the right subject, and then we go into the database, read that out, get our parameters, and construct a writer and send the writer to the clients. Also, we need to let our clients know that the player is saved. So we already have these function, but after that we just do in connection.reply the player tag and the player saved OK subject, and what you type in here is whatever you want. I just type Jumbo in. We don't read that out, so we just want to have the message on the client. So that, I guess, is all for that. Yeah. So save that and build a new DLL, copy that into your server, and doing the same with the login plugin. So we can go from here to the Unity project. In our Unity project, I did the following. First of all, I went to the scenes login, build char, and made a game manager. and in the game manager I added the dark rift receiver, and after that I just dragged that to a prefab, so I can, if we want to go to the start scene, add the game manager just here into the start scene. I also made a little island for my start area. If you want me to make a little tutorial on how to build a quick island like this one, without any assets, or with no, not without any assets, with assets which costs nothing, leave a message in the comments and I will see what I can do there. It's nothing complicated, it's just a little island and terrain, Unity water, a few trees from speed trees, and a couple houses from the let's see, resources measures from 3D Forge, and Unity grass and colors and textures from I think Huges, which has a couple free stuff on the asset store. So nothing special here. Then I built a player. I just placed him somewhere here, and also I added the Yuma prefab, which we made before from the build char, and the Yuma is just the overlay library, slot arrays, and so on. And that's on this part. Next we go to our C# scripts, and for that I open the C# script, and first of all, of course, we have to add the const variables we have on the network, which is player saved OK and receive data. Or we can do it receive player or something like that. I call it just receive data. And we start with the login C# script. On the login C# I cleaned a little bit. Here in the change to first level there was the ID inside, so we don't really need the ID, we just need the variable has Yuma or not. So I went and deleted that here, and of course you have to do that then in your delegates successful login event bool has Yuma. And next you have, when you call that, of course here on successful login only has UMA and not the ID, which is in the onData handler. Good. That was my first little cleanup. That was clear. No, that's nothing more in the login. Next I went to the UMA builder, and that's my stuff here and so here's to get UMA receipt and to save my player, and I changed the compress function into our player management, and here you just go for player management, player manager.compress and so on. So I wanted to have that in the main file, of course, and not in the front end file. So then we need a new function. It's called change to first level. So I want to see if it's saved okay, and the UMA is saved. We want to change to first level so we don't back up into the login screen. Therefore, I made an event. Here the event is in the player management manager, and the event is player saved okay event on player saved okay, and we call that just here. So if we receive the message, the player subject, player saved okay data, then we just fire up the event, which is on player saved okay. And in our UMA builder, we produce a function which will be called when we go and have here our player manager on saved okay is changed to first level. So we bind ourselves to that event on the start function, and on application quit we just bind us to the function, so there's no trash leaving behind. So we get the message player is saved, then we switch or we fire up an event, and in the event we change to first level. Therefore, you have to go for the namespace scene management, else it won't work. So that's that. We go to the player manager and let's scroll up. We have two delegates or two events. And the one event we already had, it's player saved okay event, which is named on player saved okay. And we have the player load okay event handler, which says the player load okay. So we know if the player, when the data is received. So both of them. That's the save player. So load player, we come to that. So bind to address we also don't need. So here's our compress we had already, which is just the copy from the old UMA builder. And now we got the decompress file. We put it in string and convert the string from base 64 string to an byte list or byte array. And then we are using a memory stream, and we convert that afterward with the dflat stream over here. Nothing strange going on. We just get rid of the offset, get the right file, rewrite the memory position, and gzip stream the read the buffer from 0 to the buffer length and return the buffer then. So that's that. So we got an load player. So if we call the load player, we're using the darkwave writer and construct a data field, and it is just a login manager.user ID, and then we send that to the server. As we remember right, we use the ID to select out of the database the right row. And after that, we wait for a message reply, which is here, player subject, player receive data. And we're using a Darkrift reader and read the ID out of it, the player name, the player gender, the player race, and the UMA data, and fire up the event on player load OK. And we get this stuff into that function. So if we got the message fired up or the event fired up, we basically are done here. Okay, we go to the player. So the player is a little bit more. I got private variables I want to see in the inspector, so I serialize them. Let's start at the beginning. I got a public runtime animation controller, anim controller, and then I got my private fields for user ID, player name, player gender, and player race. I serialize the fields so I can see them in the inspector. And then I got a couple private variables for the UMA construction. It's my UMA dynamic avatar. It's an UMA data. It's an UMA DNA, UMA tutorial DNA, UMA context, and UMA generator. You know that from the UMA builder already. Also the number of slots, I got 40 here, as we had in the UMA builder before. Now the special. While this stuff on top here is private, I want to be able to set them from or read them from other programs or other program parts, and for that I need getter setters, and they are public, and it's in user ID, and I can get it, and it returns the user ID, which is the private variable here. And then I have a private set where the user ID will be set with the value I put in here, but since it is private, it can only be manipulated from these function or these C# script, and not from anything else, or exactly from this class player. And well, why doing that? I could only use the public int direct as we did in login, I think. But this time I want to see them in the inspector, and these constructs won't be shown up there. So we need the 4 things here. In the awake function, we get the UMA generator and the UMA context. So we find the game object UMA generator and UMA context and put that into the variable and cache that there. And then we start our program and we bind ourselves to on player load OK, which comes from the player manager. And we bind it to the function make player. And then we start the player manager load player, so things get rolling. And if the application quit, we unbind us to the event player load OK. Let's quick look at the onload player function, which is in the login in the player manager. And we scroll a little bit. It's somewhere there, load player. So you can see we direct start to communicate with the server and tell the server, as I explained before, to give us the player. So next in player is get UMA receipt, which is the same than we had in UMA builder. We don't need that here, and we got and save my player. Function one is with 4 variables, one is with 5. So it's just an overlay there. And now we come to the make UMA, which is the function from the event. Oh no, it's make player. Let's go for make player first. Make player. In the make player, we get the information from the database here, from the event we fired up, and we save that in our variables. So we set them into the public getter setters, and we do that with all 4 variables we got there. And this UMA data, this byte array, we put into a function make UMA. And here's the make UMA function, which is the basic starting from UMA builder. So we make a game object, get this as parent, go for a new component, UMA dynamic avatar, initialize that. Then we got the UMA data file, and going to assign the generator, going to assign the number of slots, going to assign the DNA humanoid and the DNA tutorial, and add that to the DNA string. After that, we're going to get the UMA receipt, and that's a scriptable object, create instance UMA text receipt. And we feed that in with our UMA receipt, which is a byte array. And after that, we load the receipt in our dynamic avatar, and we destroy this receipt, and the UMA dynamic avatar dot animation controller we set to the animation controller, and then we update the UMA. So that's it. If I explained everything here, I hope I did. Then you should go to the Unity project. Make sure in our start function player there is the animation controller here. Here you see our private fields serialized. And if we go and went for login and start that, we see our character 22 and login. Oops. To click on, you see here's our player, and when we open the function, the scene here, and go to our player, we see there is the player named Peter. He's a male and he's a human. So if you get any problems there, make sure your game manager has the dark receiver on it. Should be everything clear. I hope you had fun. And so if you liked it, as always, push the like button. If you like it even more, feel free to subscribe to my series. And so I wish you a happy night shift.